Hello peeps, it's your boy Skinny Penis again with another replay, this time Des Moines, and I'm going to make a new series. Actually just talking about what I am in fact doing in my replay. Some people ask me, specifically also a German streamer, oh boy guy, asked me if I could maybe just let the replay play out and actually talk about what I'm doing instead of ranting about how broken ships are or how stupid certain mechanics are or whatever. So yeah, here we go. It's Des Moines. Des Moines is a good starting point, I guess, because Des Moines is in a very, very fucked position these days, especially tier 10, tier 11 matchmaking. I'm just going to quickly talk about why I think Des Moines isn't as viable or viable in general anymore. Des Moines in this situation works only if matchmaking or map is in favor of you. The moment the enemy team or some players in the enemy team know what they're doing and they're in the wrong ships, which essentially includes 60-70% of tier 10s and tier 11s, there's very little you can do. We're talking about submarines here, Ragnars, certain other HE kite cruisers, Petros, Stalingrad maybe even, though you can work around it, but then the main issue, carriers and overmatch BBs, the insane amount of overmatching or 30mm overmatch, which essentially makes the normal old playstyle of Des Moines where you go to a rock, you try to be close up, you try to make use of radar, uh, very useless. Most BBs play or have 30mm overmatch BBs these days. They already started tier 8 and 9. Tier 10 and tier 11 is full of them. Pretty much, obviously, tier 11 overmatch is 32 even across the board. So there are a lot of those BBs in the queue and in the game, and also the players themselves know that they can pretty much point and click adventure you. So what are we doing here? Well, it's very late night matchmaking, and I got pretty much rewarded for being persistent. The game before that was a complete disaster. My team left me alone. I got run down in Des Moines. Obviously, you're not going to hold an entire enemy push on a flank with Des Moines alone on a rock. This time I got lucky lucky with matchmaking. There are only two battleships that overmatch me, and those players, since only two, they could even be like less skilled, or let's say it in a nice way, they could not be the brightest star at the night skies. We don't know yet. We have to respect them until we know. But in general, the map is very favorable. I spawned on the sea cap. As you can see, there are a lot of islands here, and some of the islands are very favorable for Des Moines, specifically the Fidget Spinner Island. Looking at the matchmaking, you can see there's barely any DD that could rush me, and the Z was already spotted, so I know the Shimmer is in here, most likely. The Zashiu can't even torp me. It's very unlikely for the submarine to go here, and I can hide from Stalin, Salem, Alaska, and the two overmatched BBs fairly well. The only risk I run by going into the 10 line here is obviously that a Tirpitz or a GK runs me down. Tirpitz I could maybe work around and deal with, specifically because he can't overmatch anything on my ship. GK would be a bigger issue if he comes full HP, because the sea cap and the sea island area on Land of Fire allows a lot of BBs in randoms to get into the 10 line area, for example, without losing HP, and then you might end up in the position where Kurfürst randomly ends up in front of you. So what do we have here? We have a Salem that is turning randomly flat broadside in front of me. In the entire engagement, I think I only get 4 citadels, which is fairly unrewarding. Um, at this point, I'm not using my radar yet. Obviously, he's in front of me. There is no point. But I tried to go to the rock. He's kiting out. He survived the gamer turn, which is just RNG based. I took some hits from the Alaska. The Yamato is currently not looking for me. Now he might be, according to PT. So I have to go dart behind the rock. Unluckily, the Salem radar is very long, so he keeps me spotted the entire time. Yamato is ignoring me, so fairly nice. I could be pretty much dead already here. And now, since I'm behind the rock and he has his radar off, I'm going to use my radar, and the rock gives me obviously the vision cover, so now I can finally start trading him without losing any HP. I don't know. It's as I said in the beginning, Des Moines scales a lot with how stupid the enemy team is or how good matchmaking is. Like if you get matched against tier 8s and 9s that don't overmatch you and stuff, or for example tier 8 cruisers that don't even have a heal or any sort of DPM, you obviously fuck them. with Des Moines the entire time. Same for the battleships that don't overmatch you, like Tirpitz or Bismarck or Richelieu or Jean Bart. Fairly easy to fight against. But if matchmaking cucks you with overmatch, 5 out of 5 30mm overmatch PP or higher, there's pretty much nowhere you can run. The moment you're spotted, they're probably clicking you, and you have to be close because of like playing leg mod. My opinion, there's no point in playing range mod. You could just play any other range farm cruiser at this point, because you're literally, if you play range mod, you pretty much have to play flank and kite, because without leg mod, close up, you're not going to move very fast, so you're pretty much a brick in the water. That gets clicked. Yeah. So either the matchmaking cucks you, or if there are 2-3 people in the enemy team that have hands, you're also fairly fucked. Specifically in this game, if the Yamato would be a decent player, or I don't have DD battleship or carrier spotting in front of me against him, that Yamato could massively fuck me. Then again, we will see in a few seconds. Obviously, regarding the position, nothing really changed. I'm just staying here. The fidget spinner island, that's the one which I'm currently camping behind, is very nice. The island is not bugged on this side, so you're not going to get spotted across it. Some islands have the issue that it's like some spots you might get spotted because of like your conning tower or superstructure. On others you don't. This island is completely, let's say, clean. You're not going to get spotted. Here I quickly have to kill him actually. He survived it because my Iowa gamed, but didn't actually kill him. So I'm just going to stay behind that island as long as the Yamato is alive. There's no point in pushing up, there's no point in moving. Even if he goes dark, I wouldn't move out and spot him myself. I have 26k HP left. There's no way I win an engagement against a full HP Yamato. Thankfully he DCP'd already. My fire chance is really, really nice on him. Specifically also because I can make use of all 3 guns behind that island, because I'm unspotted. If I would be spotted, there's no way you should do that. You always have to point your nose pretty much towards the enemy 30mm, 32mm overmatch battleships. Yes, you might get sitted through the nose. You can do it at a slight angle. The problem is just, you don't angle to shatter or bounce shells. You angle to give as little silhouette as possible. Like, you don't want him to hit multiple shells the entire time. Obviously, if RNG says no, you might get fucked in one shot anyways, just through pens alone. But yeah, I just stay here and farm him. He's a non-fire prevention Yamato. His positioning was weird. He also pushed up after his entire team around him like kind of died. So yeah, is it really the skill of the Des Moines player or the inability of like actually possessing a brain on the enemy's part? Most likely the latter. There's no way you outplay fire prevention, like decent battleship players with fire prevention in Des Moines. Fairly unlikely. Like, if he goes kite there with fire prevention, there's no way I kill him. With my range, I pretty much have to hunt him, which means I have to go open water and spot it, and then most likely he just kills me. So yeah. Now I'm free to push out and do whatever. I also want to assist my Marceau now. My team on the other side lost, so we're going to have the second stage of the game. It's fairly nice. It's pretty much 50-50. If both sides of your team win, the game is over after like 8 minutes, 9 minutes. If your team on the other side is completely dented, you actually get to play the game for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. So pretty nice here. This is fairly basic stuff. You just push nose in, you try to close the distance towards the DDs in case they want to smoke up and maybe fight them or so or something, so I could radar them. Also, I don't have to respect Asashio, he can't torp me, so it's just like repositioning. But since my team on the other side lost already, and the Kidakaze and I think also the carrier kept the enemies update, or like the enemies spotted in the middle, and they update the positions on the minimap the entire time. I already know that I can't go further than the rock that is currently in front of me. So I'm just going to make myself nice and cozy on the next rock, which is essentially the only thing I could do. Kiting doesn't make sense. You could already assume that the Stalin and GK will obviously go through the middle and into C, while the Georgia will go up. So kiting might be a smart option, honestly, on the left, further on the left, so that the Georgia doesn't get into your broadside, because obviously the Georgia with speed boost, he could just straight line into the Kidakaze for whatever reason. I mean, if I were him, I wouldn't do it, but he could. And then he's standing on my broadside in about like a minute, maybe even less. And he also overmatches me everywhere, so even if he doesn't get sits, he pretty much perforates me. But um, in this case, I would not kite, or I didn't kite, because we're down 3 caps. And if you look at the like team compositions, I have a Brandenburg and a Kidda. Or specifically, I have a Brandenburg, which is a really trash tier 8 ship. Little HP, no overmatch, nothing. It's pretty much dead in the water against them. They have 2 tier 10s, actually 3 tier 10s with the Shimmer and a tier 9 ship, and most of them are even full HP and they're pushing. Meanwhile, my Marceau is low, my Kidda is dead, my carrier doesn't really look like he's the brightest star in the night sky either. And so there's pretty much just me left, and I also have like half HP. So kiting here would obviously save the damage, but I'm kind of more interested in winning this game actually. So I try to make use of it. Also, I have a lot of damage, I have a lot of kills, so why not try and win the game? So just hope that your fire RNG works out. And I'm really lucky here that my Brandenburg, at the same time where I go nose in and make use of my DPM, decides to run it in, which essentially wins us the game here, because he's worth like nothing for the enemy team. He's a tier 8, but he gets to pretty much catch all the shells and attention from the enemy team. So I'm fine with my 25 KHP that I only have left, and I can just sit behind him and farm. If more battleships would do that instead of running away or running to the map border, it would be way easier to play most of the cruisers. But that's the thing with Des Moines. Like, if you go to a rock, you pretty much coin flip on either the enemy team running it or your team being dented, which is your death. Or the opposite. Like, the enemy team is dented as fuck and your team runs it in front of you. Those are like the two options. You either do a lot of damage or you get pretty much run down, and depending on how smart the enemy is, it happens really quick. This Stalingrad is a complete gamer. I mean, there's nothing to analyze here. This man is just gifting. He is willing to spread his legs at any given time in his life. Meanwhile, the Shimmer, I think, clubs out the Brandenburg. No, actually, no, but wait, the Brandenburg survives until the end, I remember. So, yeah, well, the Starling gave flat broadside, otherwise I would have set or kept sitting in nose in and traded him. Unless he gets real good RNG and destroys my turrets or perma incapacitates my turrets a lot with AP. There's a fairly like the likely outcome is that I DPM down the Stalin, just because I can set 60 seconds fires and most likely 2 or 3 of them the entire time. So yeah, but then I decided to push out because he just gave flat broadside, so I wanted to kill him before he goes behind the rock, and I also wanted to close the distance so I can finally get citadels, because as you noticed, I didn't get sits. Here I was actually trying to go to the right rock because my carrier is on the 10 line, and I was 100% certain that Shimmer wants to hunt the carrier. I mean, he's a Shimmer player, like they love to do that, dude. If they spot the carrier, man, it's like a drug for them. I proc Halsey, using my DPM. That's really nice. Then again, there's still the issue of the Shimmer torping me, while the Georgia could theoretically overmatch smash, or generally smash me at any given time. Also, my radar runs out and my aim is hyper pupuga. But yeah, I tried to close the distance after the Starling was dead as soon as possible with the Shimmer, so I have him in radar range and I can perhaps kill him, or at least keep track of his position. I didn't manage to kill him. He dodged fairly nice. Also, my aim was pretty bad. Maybe even dispersion a bit shit, but whatever. And I barely escaped smashing salvo from the Georgia earlier, because I had to dodge into Shimmer torps, which made me go fairly flat broadside to the Georgia. The only thing that made me survive with so much HP is that the Georgia didn't realize, which is once again not the skill of the Des Moines player, but the inability of the enemy battleship that could just kill you. I get really nice fire RNG. The man also whiffed the salvo before this one, and the salvo also like wasn't perfectly aimed, I would assume. Could also be dispersion, but I would assume at this point that his aim isn't perfect either. So I barely get away with my life. After taking a lot of hits early on the 10 line, I now took some hits from actually shimmer guns as well and fires and the Georgia. Still alive, still afloat. At this point I'm just trying to make use of the smoke. Stay unspotted. Now I know kind of where he is because I'm spotted again. And I wasn't discorded this time. I think Brody it was who was watching me play with like 2 or 3 others. I don't know. He also said that Shimmer might probably gunboat you, and you could even see it on the priority target. There was no priority target. That was when he was torping me, and then he opened up and gunboated me. I mean, it's not like the worst option, I guess. I mean, he knew that my DCP is down, but the way he went about it, arcing flat broadside while opening up, maybe not the smartest idea. So, I finished the 2 targets. Meanwhile, my Brandenburg and Marceau is still alive. That Marceau was actually playing really well. The Brandenburg, fairly passive in the beginning, which is understandable. He's probably the worst ship in the entire game on our side. Yeah, it's like the most unimpactful ship we have, by far actually. Even the Z-23 can do way more in tier 10 matchmaking. So he went passive, but he ran it at the correct time, full HP. That is actually remarkable. I don't know if it was a conscious decision, whatever, of him, or if it was just pure luck because he just like classic battleship player, game is over, maybe run it. It's like 50-50. Half of them kite to the border and the other half runs it in. I don't know. But it was fairly nicely played from those 2 people. So, yeah, everything went wrong in the everything went correct in this game. I got good matchmaking, I got a good side on a good map, and my teammates around me pretty much played the game. Or if they didn't play the game, like the Iowa, who was fairly like suicidal, he at least suicided in front of me and created a bit more room, time for me, and also took a lot of shots from the enemy team that obviously wants to kill him when he suicides in on the 10 line. Yeah. So is Des Moines playable in 2022? I'd say if you're a gamble addicted person, then yes. Like if you want to run the coin flip in the matchmaking, yeah, you can play it. Is it a good ship, or is it the best or a good tier 10 cruiser to pick up when you try to learn the game? No, hell no. It's not. It's like learn kiting and camping with Russian cruisers first, and then you can actually touch Des Moines. It's insanely unrewarding for new players. I wouldn't say people should grind Des Moines as their first. Also, if you don't have leg mod, it's fairly pointless. Yeah. So this is 309k game. 7 kills. It was like 3.5 base in the end. Yeah, that's it for Des Moines. Just a quick little replay. Maybe I should go more into detail next time. If you have any suggestions, just put them into the comment section. Otherwise, yeah, it's another replay story on this channel. Hope you enjoyed it, and we're going to see a submarine gameplay soon, I hope, from Ivan. Have fun and take care.